Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. Yes, it's that bloody ship game again. If you don't know what I'm talking about, have a look at the comments of some of the previous videos that have gone up since I got back from the USA. Yes, anyway, that bloody ship game again. Generally speaking, when it comes to planning what sort of videos I'm going to do in any given week on YouTube, I usually know in advance more or less what kind of videos I'm going to be uploading. I still do mostly World of Tanks videos, although you wouldn't think so looking at the whining that goes on in the comments anytime I do a video that isn't World of Tanks, but yeah, most of the videos that I upload are still World of Tanks. I slip in the occasional World of Warships video every now and then, and sometimes maybe some Armoured Warfare, some War Thunder, and so on and so on. There are of course certain events that screw up my schedule. World of Tanks test server might go up, World of Warships test server might go up, Armoured Warfare might sneak in an early access test, but generally speaking I usually have a pretty good idea from day to day of what kind of video I'm going to be doing the next day and the day after and the day after that. But every now and then something comes along that just blows my plans right out of the water. Every now and then I get a replay that is so amazing it just has my jaw hanging open in disbelief when I'm not screaming at the monitor in pure rage and frustration, and this is one of those replays, and that's why you're getting this video today. And not the Japanese Tier 5 heavy tank video that I was supposed to be putting up today, because I watched this match and I had no choice. Right? I had to share this with you. This is Bowman Yao, and he is in the Cleveland class cruiser, the American Tier 6. Now it's a Tier 6 match, but he's the only Tier 6 on his team. Everybody else is Tier 5 or below. He's just been spotted, which means that there's got to be a destroyer up there somewhere, and if the destroyer has spotted him, he's also spotted all of those battleships that he's escorting. You'll note that the enemy team has a carrier, his team doesn't, so he's being a good cruiser driver. He's escorting his battleships, anticipating that as soon as this big cluster of battleships have been spotted, there are going to be torpedo bombers incoming. You'll note he's not detected anymore, so yeah, there's almost certainly a destroyer through the gap in the narrows between those two islands around the B cap zone, that's spotting them all as they come over, and there's going to be some fire coming in. There it is. Bowman Yao does waste a lot of time at the beginning of this match escorting these battleships. They're not sailing in formation because of any tactical reasons, by the way. They're just doing it because they think it looks pretty. So, you know. So as you can imagine, this battle's going to be a bit of an uphill struggle with battleships like that in your team. Unfortunately, despite the fact that he's slowed to make sure he doesn't steam off ahead of these battleships so he can continue to cover them from incoming air attack, the air attack never really materialises. We don't actually see any enemy aircraft until much later on in this match. So Bowman does waste quite a bit of time escorting these battleships at the start of the match when there's no real threat heading in their direction other than fire from the enemy battleships over there at the other end of the map. Now, meanwhile, over at the sea capture point, a friendly destroyer and a friendly cruiser have run into a pair of Minakaze class destroyers. They chase one of them out of the gap in the narrows between the two islands just over to Bowman's right, and we're going to skip ahead to when Bowman spots one of those Minakazes and then start showing you why the Cleveland is such an utter nightmare for destroyer captains. And there he is. He's just scuttled out of the gap between the islands on the right with his tail between his legs. He's dropped a smoke screen. Bowman unleashes his 156mm guns with high explosive loaded blind into the smoke screen. Scores 2 hits, 2 incapacitations, probably knocked his engines out. He's looking for a shot at this battleship. There go the torpedoes. Obviously there are going to be torpedoes in the water when yet another destroyer comes steaming around the headland up ahead. Unloads with his rear gun batteries, and look at that. This is why the Cleveland is such a nightmare for destroyers. 12 guns, 156mm. The 156mm guns on the Cleveland, and the Cleveland is the last American cruiser to get that caliber of guns. From the Pensacola at Tier 7 and up, it's 203mm guns, and 203mm guns are good guns. They're obviously larger caliber, they do more damage, but they don't fire as quickly, and you have to think more about the ammunition choice that you're going to load in a 203mm gun. Because with a 156mm gun, you pretty much only ever have to load armour piercing when you're shooting at other cruisers. If you're in a cruiser with 203mm guns, you have to think a little bit more, because sometimes firing armour piercing at battleships works, depending on the battleship that you're shooting at and how far away he is. You never get that problem with the Cleveland. You just fire high explosive at battleships because your 156mm guns are not going to penetrate them with armour piercing. And you're obviously going to fire high explosive at carriers, and you're definitely going to fire high explosive at destroyers. So there's a 75% chance, at least, if you're in a destroyer and you come across a Cleveland, that he's going to have the right ammunition loaded at any given time to make your life an absolute misery. And he's got 12 of these guns, and they all fire very, very quickly. Comes around the corner, spots an enemy Congo. Now, it's not fully upgraded. In fact, it's probably stock. But it still has those 14-inch guns, so he starts manoeuvring and turning in and avoids all the fire from the Congo, but the Congo's not alone. His first salvo sets him on fire. His second salvo sets him on fire amidships and does a respectable amount of damage, knocks out some secondary batteries. But there's a Murmansk cruiser coming around here as well. He's tier 5, the Congo's tier 5, and there's another battleship coming sailing around that corner. Now, the Cleveland's a good ship, but I don't like those odds, and neither does Bowman Yao, so he's turning it around and he's getting the heck out of there. He's managed to avoid all damage other than some minor collision damage from bumping into a friendly ship so far, but that situation is not going to last if he tries to face off against 2 tier 5 battleships and a tier 5 cruiser. Here comes some fire from the Murmansk. He's starting to get his range now. The cavalry have just arrived. Oh, there we go. The Congo finally found his range with his 14-inch guns. It didn't do a lot of damage, but he's definitely outstayed his welcome. Trading shots in a cruiser with 2 tier 5 battleships and a tier 5 cruiser is a mug's game. Instead, he's going to leave those guys, after setting him on fire again, of course, to the 2 battleships who have finally arrived. And instead, he's going to head back through the gap in the Narrows and see what he can do on the other side of these 2 islands. While he's doing that, have a look at the scores. Now, the enemy team control 2 of the capture points, but the difference in the scores is not that much. It's 421 to 518. But remember, in this game mode, when you lose a ship, your team loses points and the enemy team gains points. So the loss of just one ship can radically swing the scores around. And any second now, you're going to see exactly that happen. At the moment, the difference between the points on the 2 different teams is really not that much. And his team are about to try to recapture B. So it's not looking too bad. And then suddenly, bang, they lose 2 ships. As quickly as that. They're now down 6 ships to the enemy's 3. And look at the difference in the scores. Shit just got serious, yo. Down there, and he's just been spotted by him, Gremyashki class destroyer. Premium tier 5, Russian ship. Very, very good little ship. And that New York class is in all kinds of trouble with a Gremyashki at that kind of close range. Bowman Yao does what he can. Starts shooting at the Gremyashki, scores some good hits again, 156mm rapid firing cannons with high explosive loaded, but there are torpedoes in the water, and at that sort of range, the New York was always going to be doomed. The Gremyashki disappears now that the New York is no longer spotting him, which is very, very annoying. So, Gremyashki to his left, Cleveland up ahead, and a whole mess of enemy ships over on his right. You can't see the Gremyashki, so there's no point naming in his direction. There's a Kuma over there as well. That Omaha in the middle is in a lot of trouble. Who are you going to shoot at? Well, you shoot at the ships that are shooting at you, particularly if you can kill the ships that are shooting at you. And there's the Congo on very, very low health after getting a battering, not just from the fires that Bowman inflicted on him, but also those 2 friendly battleships. He starts shooting at the Congo just as the Congo starts repairing. Come on, set this guy on fire or he's going to recover his health. He hits him in the stern and he does start a fire, but the gap between these 2 islands is not good enough for him to be able to finish this Congo off. He gets one more salvo away and then his shots are occluded by the landmass in front of him. That Congo is going to get away. He set him on fire again, however, so he's now burning in 2 separate locations. The Congo, however, is now the least of his problems. Here comes a New York. He's also taking hits from that Kuma at the rear, but he can't worry about the Kuma now. The Omaha, who was being engaged by the Cleveland, has died. He got caught in a crossfire between the Kuma and the Cleveland. The Cleveland is in seriously low health. The one saving grace that he's got here is that the New York was focused on the other 2 battleships, so it's going to take a while for this guy to turn his guns around. And all the time he's doing this, I'm thinking, for God's sake, finish off the Congo. Don't let him get away. You can shoot at the Congo. And I'm yelling at the screen, don't let... What? You killed the Congo? He got the Arsonist Award. The Congo burned to death. He got the kill. So he continues firing And yeah, the New York's pointing his guns at him now. Although you'll note the New York's lost its forward gun turret, so it doesn't have all of its guns available to fire at him. And he keeps pouring that 156mm high explosive spam into the side of this ship. He's going for the front of the ship, but they all sailed right over the bows. He's got him on fire in 2 different locations. He's going for a third to try to... there's the high caliber award. He's almost got this guy, but wouldn't you know it, the New York does manage to get 1 salvo off with its main battery guns before he manages to finish him off. So, he took some damage, but it could have been substantially worse. Now, no time to hang around. There's only 4 of them left. It's the 7 enemy, well there were 8 enemy, they were outnumbered 2-1 a minute ago until he sank the Congo with the New York. So now it's 7 against 4. I mean, it could be worse. It could be 7 against 3. Me and my big mouth. It's 7 against 3. He switched to armor-piercing ammunition because that's a cruiser, and you can penetrate the citadel of the cruiser with 156mm armor-piercing ammunition, and he penetrates the citadel of the cruiser, and then he does it again. And again. However, that is a Japanese cruiser. It's a Kuma class. It's the tier 4. It's gonna have torpedoes. You've got to expect there to be torpedoes in the water. He's turning around, which probably means he's fired the torpedoes on one side and he's turning around to give you torpedoes from the other side. And speaking of torpedoes, there's the Gremyashki, and he's killed the Kuma. He's taken fire from the Murmansk. Murmansk is a cruiser. There's the Cleveland. If you can kill the Cleveland, kill the Cleveland. But the Cleveland is just out of range, and there's this huge volume of fire coming in from the Murmansk. Murmansk seems to be firing high explosive. He got set on fire, and oh crap, here come the dive bombers. Gremyashki behind him. There's got to be torpedoes in the water. Activates his defensive fire cooldown. Come on, get those dive bombers. Get those dive bombers. One more. He got the dive bombers. There's the torpedoes in the water, probably from the Kuma. The Murmansk is keeping up this huge barrage of fire. Switches back targets to the Murmansk. Again, armor piercing loaded. Oh crap, here come the torpedo bombers. This is not good. Now the Gremyashki is shooting at him. What are those 2 battleships doing? I have absolutely no idea, but it's absolutely nothing useful. And there's the Cleveland. He's got shots out in the Murmansk. He hits. He citadels the Murmansk. There's the Confederate award. He judges the shot. Watch this. He fires at the Cleveland, and while he's reloading... No, those are good. Turns around, fires another salvo at the Murmansk. He was totally confident he had that Cleveland. He didn't even look at him once the shots had gone, and he was sure they were going to land. Instead, he switches fire back to the Murmansk. Still got his armor piercing loaded. 1 more salvo at the Murmansk from his front gun batteries. Turns around, has a quick look at the Gremyashki behind him, and bingo, another citadel. He takes the Murmansk out. The Murmansk did get some shots off before he went down. There they go, flying by. Switches back to high explosive. It's destroyer killing time. The Gremyashki is making a run on one of the 2 surviving friendly battleships. You can see shots coming in from behind. There it is. There's another destroyer there. Well, there's 1 less now. 6 kills, but he doesn't have time to hang around and congratulate himself. The only way they're going to win this is by sinking every single enemy ship, and there are torpedo bombers coming in. They're just coming in range of his dual battery guns. He starts to put some shots off. He hits and incapacitates the Clemson. It looks like he knocked his engine out. Taking a look behind him, seeing how close those bombers are getting. His defensive fire cooldown is up again. He's used it. Some more shots at the Clemson. There's a second enemy destroyer closing in. Come on, hit the Clemson, hit the Clemson. Get him, get him, get him. No, didn't look like it's good. He's got to give his attention to these torpedo bombers. Defensive fire cooldown, anti-aircraft guns open up. He's got them, turns around. Oh, crap. 2 torpedo hits. He's on 194 health. Immediately, with lightning reflexes, activates his damage control ability, stops the flooding, keeps himself in the game with his guns still firing, shoots, takes out the Gremyashki. Turns his attention to the Clemson. If the Clemson had not wasted time trying to put torpedoes in the water and just fired his guns at Bowman Yao's ship with 194 health, he would have sunk him. But instead he doesn't, and Bowman Yao finishes him off and gets his 8th kill with 194 health remaining. If you weren't standing on the edge of your seat yelling at the screen during the course of this video, you've got to be dead from the neck up. I did actually find this part quite amusing. One of the battleships actually has the massive brass balls to say, "Oh yeah, nice kill steal." I'm sorry, but if I'm in a Cleveland, I'm on 194 health, and there's an American destroyer within shooting range, he's getting shot at. Simple as that. I'm not going to wait around and hope that maybe you hit him with one of your main battery guns, and then you miss, and he sinks me. So yeah. I suspect that the battleship driver was just messing around, and Bowman Yao certainly doesn't take it seriously, but... Oh, hang on a minute. Okay, there's about 4 minutes of this match left, but you'd think that would be plenty of time to find and kill the lone surviving enemy ship, which is a Zuho-class Tier 5 carrier. But that's a very, very fast carrier. That's not like the Langley or the Bogue. That thing can move. And Bowman Yao's team don't control any of the flags. Which means that even though there's around about 4 minutes left on the clock, looking at the scores, Bowman's team have got about 15 seconds before the enemy team win on points. And all that carrier has to do is keep sailing in the other direction. And Bowman Yao is going to lose a game where he sinks 8 of the enemy ships and does over 150,000 damage. I like Bowman Yao, by the way. In the message that he sent me, in the email that contained the post-battle screenshots and the replay file, he actually blamed himself because he didn't cap. As well as sinking 8 of the enemy ships and doing 150,000 damage, he didn't cap as well. I mean, tell you what, if we stick a broom up your arse, you can sweep the floor while you're at it as well. You know, we may as well get our money's worth out of you. There's only so much you can do. Credit has to be given to the destroyers on the enemy team who made sure that they recaptured the sea point before they went after 2 Tier 5 battleships and a Tier 6 cruiser. Yeah, I mean, that was not a boring replay. Not by any stretch of the imagination. And I knew, the second I watched this replay, I knew that this was going to be the next video that I uploaded because I just had to share this with you. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I guarantee, unless you're dead from the neck up, you haven't been bored by it. That was Bowman Yao in probably the worst defeat I have ever seen in a game of World of Warships. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.